Welcome to this book talk, Real People Surviving Wartime. This book talk looks at a number of different nonfiction texts, mostly at the high school level, though there are some texts that have lower levels available. I'll talk about that in a little bit. These books have male and female protagonists. They cover different, various important moments that have shaped world history. First up on the list is a book that maybe people aren't familiar with. It's on the newer side, Retire the Colors, Veterans and Civilians on Iraq and Afghanistan. This is edited by Dario Di Battista. This book is a collection of short nonfiction narratives that address life in and around Iraq and Afghanistan wars. As many of the soldiers were young when they served, they wrote about their time overseas, as well as what it was like to come home and become a civilian again. This book would be great in a social studies classroom, and each narrative has the potential to stand alone if needed. So this could be used as individual short stories or as a full collection. Next book on the list, a pretty famous book, The Boys in the Boat. This book takes place in the 1930s up through the 1936 Olympics. It follows the story of Joe Rance and 7 other poor Midwestern boys that make up the 1936 USA 8-man rowing crew in their defeat of Germany. This team was up against all odds, including being able to work as a cohesive crew, to pay for their trip to Germany, the worst lane selection in the Olympics, and many other individual struggles. For example, Joe Rance was essentially left to raise himself at a young age and finds himself working to make it through college, as well as being able to survive. This makes an excellent audiobook, so you could supplement classroom reading with that. Additionally, there's a junior edition of this book available, which is great for your lower-leveled readers. Next book on the list, another newer selection called Sachiko, a Nagasaki bomb survivor story by Karen Stilson. Sachiko was 6 years old when the atomic bomb went off in Nagasaki. Her and her family were only half a mile from the hypocenter, so right in the meat of it. The atomic bomb, codenamed Fat Man by the Americans, was dropped on Nagasaki after a failed attempt to drop it in the city of Kokura. Immediately, her 2 older brothers were killed, and her remaining family members must take a train to seek help in another city. They're on the train for about 4 days, and by the time they make it to the hospital, her uncle and her younger brother are dead. In the end, her younger sister ends up with leukemia and passes. Her father ends up with cancer and passes. She herself has thyroid cancer and survives only because of life-saving surgery, and she continues to tell her story across Japan, America, and Canada. This story is very moving. The images that are in this are great as well. This was a National Book Award long list nominee. Very, very well done. Next book on the list, We Will Not Be Silent, The White Rose Student Resistance Movement That Defied Adolf Hitler by Russell Friedman. Another nonfiction work. We've got 2 main characters in this one, so it's a little bit different than the ones we've seen so far. Hans Scholl and Sophie Scholl are high school and college-age teens throughout the reading. This nonfiction work follows their lives growing up in Nazi Germany and eventually founding and developing the White Rose leaflets that encouraged Germany's residents to rebel against the Nazi regime. In the end, the 3 members of the White Rose were found and sentenced to beheading, including Hans and Sophie, as well as their friend Christoph. They had a lasting impact on the people of Germany, and the White Rose leaflets are still talked about today as a way that motivated the people to change. Okay, so this was actually an underground movement, if you will, that is not very well known. So if you're doing a unit on this particular part in history, this might be a nice supplement of some other lesser known parts. The next book and the last book in our book talk is Unbroken by Lauren Hildebrand. This book was so very well done. It is on the longer side, although there is a junior edition available of this book, so that might help with the lower level readers. Louis Zamparelli, the main character in this book, lived quite the remarkable life. As a young man, he competed in the Olympics as a track athlete. After training for his next Olympics, war breaks out, and he decides that he's going to join the Army Air Forces. While serving, the plane that he was on, the Green Hornet, goes down in the middle of the ocean. He's lucky enough to survive the crash. And not only does he survive, but two of his plane mates survive. And then they spend over a month floating lost at sea, only to become a prisoner of war in Japan. Zamperini's story is so very well written and very moving to hear. Again, this one is available as a junior edition and made a excellent audiobook, an award-winning audiobook on this one. So thank you for listening. I hope that you found some great new nonfiction texts that you can use either in your classroom or for your own personal reading. These were all really great. And just some sources for you. I just wanted to make sure that you had the image of each book so that you could see what it would look like on your bookshelf. Thank you again for your time today.